In this video I'm going to go through all the stats of how I went from a hacker 27 handicap to a 12 handicap in around 150 rounds of golf. So I log all my stats in the Golfshot app on my phone, that's how I play it. In around 18 months of play this is. I'm going to be noting what areas of my game have improved, what I've still got to work on, and also comparing against the benchmarks of what I was expected from different handicaps. So the first stat we're going to be looking at is the fairways, and going into it here, all the rounds 154, so 54% fairways hit, that's quite good. 11 to 15 handicap on this chart is 48% of fairways hit, so I'm slightly above that for my last 20 rounds and also the 150 plus rounds. I've improved my driving in the last few months, about 30 more yards. I think that's the reason for the slight decrease in fairways hit, but also the increase in fairways missed to the left, which I'm fine with because I normally struggled with a slice out to the right, and I've reduced that slice slightly. And moving forward, fairways in regulation is fine for me, not a big issue. So moving on to greens in regulation stats. This is a much more important stat than the fairways hit for me as a short hitter. So if we look at the 150 rounds, I've hit 18% of the greens, and if we look at the handicap range, it's 28% for 11 to 15 handicap. But if we look at the last 20 rounds, I'm up to 32%. So it's definitely moving in the right direction. Happy with that. I've got a bit more distance with the driver, that's been helping a lot on par 4s. And just improving. And if you look at the green and regulation start, it's just a steady line of improvement. So really happy with that, the way it's been going in general. It hasn't leveled off yet, which is quite weird. But it's nearly 6 greens around that I'm hitting per 18 holes, which is great, and improving the scores. So the next stat to look at is scrambling, how many times you can get it up and down from the green side. And if we look at the stats, it's recovery, and there's a 17% scramble rate for 150 plus rounds. And if we look at the last 20, it's up to 27, so I've improved quite a lot. Always want to get better with scrambling. It's a tough one, and here's the graph over time. You can see I've made some changes to my chipping and pitching greenside recently and the last few rounds, so it's really improved a lot. And sand saves, I'm terrible at bunkers. I've never made a sand save in 150 rounds. So bunker play is probably the weakest part of my game, so I should just practice bunker play more, but I don't. So looking at the stats, 12 handicap is around 22 or 23% scrambling, and I'm at 27, so slightly above it, but there's still plenty of more work to do, and I could improve this area a lot. So on to putting now. Probably one of the strengths of my game, especially lag putts. My numbers are for 150 rounds, it's 33.11 per round, and the average for my handicap is 34.8, so slightly better. And for the last 20 rounds, 32.83, which is it's actually quite close to scratch. It's only like less than 1.5 strokes away from scratch average. But I think it's not low hanging fruit. It's not gonna, if I practice like a lot of putting, it's not going to get to like 30 or 29 around. So it's an area where I'm happy with. It's a strength of my game. You can see over time it's just stayed pretty consistent. Goes up and down slightly. And putts per green in regulation, I don't understand this statistic, but I'd like if you have a comment, and leave it down below about the putting stats, because from what I'm reading here is this, I'm better off practicing other parts of my game such as driving, chipping and bunker play more than putting to improve my scores. If you like this type of content, then consider subscribing to the channel on behalf of these 3 seagulls that flew away from me when I was going to take a shot. And now it's down to the nitty gritty, the par 3, 4 and 5 scores, the exact percentages, what I'm scoring. So over 150 plus rounds, it's 3.9, 5.2 and 6.2. So they're the averages, and then they've all come down for the last 20. But what's interesting, it's a bit of a mess this graph, but if you look, the par 3 percentage come down nicely, Was averaging bogey golf and then improved. Par 4 percentage was averaging bogey golf for a long time, but I've improved the last through 20 odd rounds. And here's the big difference, par 5s. I've improved my driving and just getting closer to par 5, getting an approach shot closer. And yeah, it's made a world of difference to my scoring on par 5s. And now we're moving on to the exact scores for the holes. So it's 0% eagles in over 150 rounds. I'm a short hitter, so I've had a couple of eagle chances, like a chip in and a long putt once. For the last 20 rounds, my birdie percentage is 4%, which is 1 birdie every 25 holes, which has improved. And par and bogey are both 40%. And here's the scores, and you can see over time. Here's the 0% for eagles, nothing to see there, don't hit the ball far enough. And birdies, they're not really a big thing, one every 25 holes I make them 4%. But the real one changes are the pars, bogeys and double bogeys, which are quite interesting. Here's the pars. Yeah, it's just been going up quite well. Definitely moving in the right direction. That's why the handicap's come down. And moving on to the bogeys now, next. Why is it taking so long? Oh yeah, here's bogeys. Yeah, bogeys is kind of a weird one. It's kind of stayed the same. Hasn't changed all that much, but the big one is double bogeys. Look at the reduction in double bogeys as my handicaps improved. Double bogeys, they're just coming down and down and down, and everything's going well, moving in the right direction. So on to the conclusions from dissecting all these stats. What I got from it is for fairways, no problem. Putting was no problem. Just the green in regulation and scrambling could do with improving if I want to get to single digits. And green and regulation need to work on the driver and the approach play, and the scrambling need to work on the bunker play and the greenside pitching and chipping more. And for putting, I mean, I don't really practice putting at all, apart from like after a round sometimes, occasionally, but it seems to be okay from these stats, what I can gather. It's not low hanging fruit if I did a lot of putting practice. So looking at something like these stats, they're kind of interesting as they see what's the weak part of your game and what's the strong part, and sometimes the stats might surprise you from what you might have thought before. And here's two scorecards, interesting, 19 over and 2 over, and that's how much I improved quite quickly after taking some lessons. So that's why I thought take this video, make this video, show the stats, and then it'll be interesting to see what I'm at this time next year. If I improve them, stay the same, or even go in the wrong direction, such as with a swing change, something like that. So if you look at these stats, how do they compare to your stats? Am I stronger or weaker in which department than you? Leave a comment down below. And yeah, if you track your stats in an app such as Golfshot, you can definitely see some changes and identify areas of your game which are weak when you thought they previously were strong, such as chipping. I thought my chipping was always really good, but looking at the stats is I'm losing lots of shots, and I'd be better off practicing my chipping over practicing putting. There's definitely more shots to be gained. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little dive into my stats, golf stats, and I'll see you on the next video. Signing off.